Hey there, it's Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson. Have you ever wondered how to get started again with bright line eating? Like, have you done bright line eating in the past and had some success with it, which a lot of people do when they try it the first time? They think, okay, this is easier than I expected. I'm really kind of getting in a groove with this really fast. And look at this, the weight is melting off and I'm loving this. And this is feeling amazing. And then have you found yourself some months or years later wondering how you kind of got off track with it and feeling like in the back of your mind, you're wanting to restart bright line eating, but not knowing exactly how to do that? Well, this vlog is for you. It's about how to restart bright line eating. Because in the past, we've really only had one main way to restart bright line eating, which is the boot camp, the bright line eating boot camp. And we have, of course, the second version of it, the amazing bright line eating boot camp 2.0. And it's wonderful. And it does a great job of pouring a strong foundation, getting people launched solidly on their bright journey. And you might have felt that boot camp isn't quite the right fit for you if you need to restart bright line eating. So that's what we're going to talk about in this week's vlog, because we have an amazing new option for you. We've been listening, we've been thinking about you, and we've been hearing that we need another way for people to restart bright line eating. But let's go back to the beginning a little bit. Why do people fall off anyway? Why do people drift away? I think drift is a good word. For some people, it is a drift. The reality is that living in the world, this world that we live in, with the food environment that we live in right now, creates a nonstop daily erosion of our resolve, of our habits, of our identity. And if we're not solidly in the bright line eating community, that erosion takes a toll. And eventually we find ourselves having drifted quite far. For other people, it's a choice. I know that at one point, this was more than 10 years ago, but at one point during my journey, I chose to leave. I chose to try intuitive eating. And yeah, that didn't last very long. It wasn't a spectacular failure. It kind of sort of worked. Sometimes I could find a stopping place and have a moderate amount of food sometimes, but other times I couldn't, and I started to gain weight. And then I had to ask myself, how many new wardrobes of clothes was I willing to buy in service of this experiment? And I had really done it for my kids. I thought that it would be bad for my kids to weigh and measure food in front of them, and teach them to have disordered eating. And in fact, my kids are, all teenagers now, and they're incredibly healthy when it comes to food. And they've watched me weigh and measure my whole life. And I've just told them, that signal that you have between your gut and your brain that tells you when to stop eating, mine doesn't work very well. So I have to weigh and measure to make sure that I get the right amount. And that makes perfect sense to them. And they can feel that signal. They know it works for them. And it's amazing. It's been fine to raise them. But anyway, um, the point was I chose to leave, and some people choose to leave. Some people feel like they want to explore other ways of eating, or they think that bright line eating is too rigorous of a solution for them, and they want to try life without it. And then what can happen, it doesn't always happen, but what can happen is that experiencing eating addictive foods without guardrails, without bright lines, over time convinces them, you know what, I think I had it better in bright line eating. Yes, it was a rigorous solution. And yes, I had to adopt the identity of someone who doesn't eat certain foods, and the benefits were enormous. And I kind of wish I was doing it again. And so it leaves them in this place of wanting to restart bright line eating. I think that some people find themselves needing to restart bright line eating because they've been running some experiments. Like, they still are doing bright line eating, but they're also experimenting with alcohol, experimenting with artificial sweeteners, experimenting with brown flour but not white flour. And these experiments are helpful to run. I think that, no harm, no foul, no shame at all in running those experiments. And What they can do, though, is result in being pretty far off the path and needing to restart bright line eating. If you run those experiments and you find, it's really not working, I don't have the peace, I don't have the weight loss, I don't have the results that I want, you might find yourself wanting to restart bright line eating. It might be that you've drifted because you had resistance to the notion of being a food addict. And, I'm never one to force that identity on someone. I think that most people in this society have at least somewhat of an addictive relationship with food. They have at least some of the signs and symptoms of an addictive relationship. That doesn't mean they're an addict. It just means there's some addictive elements to that relationship. And still, I do talk about myself as a food addict. That is a label, an identity that works for me. First of all, I just feel like it's really true. And second of all, it gives me the motivation to work a program that's strong enough to give me the peace that I want. So it serves me personally to have that identity, but you might have resisted that identity, and that resistance might have led you to stray from bright line eating. And then at some point, the evidence might have accumulated where you realize, you know what, I think this is really true about me. Like, this looks like addiction. If it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, and oh my gosh, this might be a duck. So you might be wanting to come back to get the medicine for that condition, right? I think actually probably the number one reason that people drift from bright line eating is that life gets lifey. And that's just so real. I mean, that happens for all of us. Nobody's immune, nobody's exempt. And things happen. We lose a job, a parent dies, parenting responsibilities become intense. 10,000 things, right? Just slot in the circumstance du jour. But we can find that we, stop doing our habit stacks. We stop weighing and measuring our food, and suddenly our food's a mess. And then that becomes one more problem that's compounding the issues of the feeling of overwhelm, unmanageability that's happening in our life, right? And then, of course, the factor that's underlying all of this is intermittent reinforcement. Once we've started to make exceptions with our food, we now have a brain that's very resistant to extinction, which means that when we try on our own to get bright again, our brain is hounding us for exceptions because it's used to them, right? It expects us to give in because we have been in the past. And even with a stretch of vigilance, our brain doesn't seem to get the message that we're bright again, and it keeps hounding us. That's what happens. That's what intermittent reinforcement results in, is a brain that's going to keep hounding us long into the future because it doesn't believe us. It's calling our bluff. And it takes an enormous amount of support to outlast a brain that has been trained to cry our bluff. And so we can find that we need more support than we've had, right? And the thing about bright line eating is that we mean it when we say that you're not called to be perfect around here. You're called to be unstoppable. Unstoppable. And that orientation of, we have love for you. We understand. I have been through 30 years of food recovery now. This month right now is the 30-year anniversary of when I first started my food recovery journey. And I've been through chapter after chapter after chapter after chapter in that journey. It's one story, but many chapters in that book. And it's not been a perfect journey at all. I've had stretches of beautiful bright lines and stretches of not hardly being able to draw a bright breath and everything in between. And the reality is that we are so focused on just helping you go from where you're at right now to your next bright meal, and helping you unwind the shame, unwind the perfectionism, unwind the isolation, so that you can join with us and just be arm in arm on this journey as we walk together to celebrate each bright breath as it comes, and not lament or beat ourselves up for the moments that we haven't been bright, And just know that that old adage of fall down 7 times, get up 8, it's always available. And addiction is a beast. Addiction is a chronic relapsing condition. Not everybody relapses chronically, but it's definitely in the mix for a lot of people. And food is the hardest because the food environment of all the substance addictions, none is more woven through our society with pressure and with opportunities to relapse than food. It's absolutely the number one. And that makes it hard to recover. And so we're just here for you. And we've been thinking about you. And so we've created a new course. It's a new course. And I'm going to tell you the title of it because I love the title of it. It's got a title and a tagline. Okay, here we go. You ready? Here's the new course. The Bright Reset. 21 days, 7 practices, 1 devoted you. That's the title of the course. And it tells you a lot about it. The Bright Reset. 21 days, 7 practices, 1 devoted you. And we thought a lot about the difference between resume and reset. Notice that the title of the course is The Bright Reset. So what's the difference between resume and reset? Obviously, this course is to help you resume. And a resume in Bright Line Eating is to get your lines bright when they haven't been before. Clear. That's awesome. That's easy. And this course will help you do that. So this is a course to help you resume. But we didn't put resume in the title because we also want this course to be for people who are currently bright, but want to refresh in their program, because complacency and stagnation are also issues as you walk the bright journey for long stretches of time. And we know that we have people who are bright for years and want to take their program to the next level, want to up level, want to have a deeper dive, want to have a refresh. And so the Bright Reset works for both. It works for a resume if you need to get back on track, and it works for a refresh if you just need a refresh. So this word reset is magical because by its very nature, what it means is that it covers both of those cases. You can have a reset. And it's to get bright again, or it's to freshen up your program if you're already bright. So what's exciting about the Bright Reset, first of all, is that it's shorter than the boot camp. It's a bit of a more, I would say, intensive, focused course, but it's also a bit more targeted. So what's true about the Bright Reset is there's only 15 minutes a day that you need to spend on it. It's very, very targeted. And every day there's just one action that you need to take, which is super powerful. Very, very laser focused. And I explain all about it in this little mini class that I recorded. That not only explains about the Bright Reset, but also explains the framework of what it takes to resume. Because there's 3 things that it takes. And I think when people resume, they often miss or misunderstand what is involved. So I just wanted to give you a bit of education. I'm always about the science and the psychology, right? So this little mini class is 24 minutes long. And if you happen to be watching this vlog and you have done Bright Line Eating before, I'm specifically talking to you. I just want to be very clear that the Bright Reset is not for people who want to start Bright Line Eating from scratch. What we have for you is the boot camp. And you can access the boot camp by going to our main website at brightlineeating.com and watching the masterclass. That's how you get started with the boot camp. If you have never done Bright Line Eating before, that's your next step. But if you have done Bright Line Eating before, meaningfully and significantly done it, either by going through the boot camp or by using the book or, any other way of really, really doing Bright Line Eating, this Bright Reset is for you. And you might be watching this vlog in real time as it comes out in September of 2025. If so, we are launching the Bright Reset right now. And you've just got a couple more days to get yourself registered. We're going through it as an entire community, and it starts really soon. So go ahead and click the link below. There's even webinars happening that are amazing, and those are live. And please join us, and or you can just watch the mini class and get yourself registered. If you're watching this vlog into the future, know that this mini class is still available for you, and the Bright Reset is still available for you. It's available to you anytime. And what's amazing then is at the end of the Bright Reset, you'll get an invitation to come into Bright Lifers. Because if you've been kind of floundering with your Bright Lines for a while, you've probably realized that it just takes more support. It really does take being ensconced in a community with an identity of, I really do Brightline eating, to fend off the erosion that happens out in society. When people are eating whatever, whenever, and really not minding their food journey very closely, right? And here in Brightline Eating, we do it differently and we support each other differently. So if you've been wanting to get into Bright Lifers, this Bright Reset is your path in. So I'm super excited to announce this new tool for you. If you want to restart your Brightline eating journey, we have the perfect tool for you. So if you've done Brightline eating before and you feel like you're off the path and you want to get back on, or you need a reset, click below so that you can access the mini class. And I can't wait to see you in the Bright Reset. I'll see you there. Bye.